Hi, thanks. So this is my talk. I don't want to waste more time. Well, in recent years, we have started building what we call empathetic virtual agents. That started back in 2015 when we built a empathetic agent, Emmy, in a speaker with emotional intelligence. And then we built Zara the Supergirl. And then later on, I will show some of this today. And then I will go on to talk about our journey into responsible virtual agents. So this was the MooBox that we built back in 2015. And I will show you the video for a little bit, not the whole thing, but take a look.
Hi, I'm Emmy.
Can you hear?
I love music. I love playing music for people. I understand what they like. People like to talk to me, and I like to listen. They say I'm very emotionally intelligent. I just like to make people happy. I'm Emmy, the emotional intelligence of the MooBox speaker. I'm your personal mood DJ. I'm constantly learning and growing with you, sharing music and light with the help of MooBox to cater to your different moods and activities. Welcome home, Kate. How was your day?
Hey, Emmy. I had a good day at work. I got a promotion.
This calls for a celebration.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's perfect. I love this song.
MooBox uses artificial intelligence that was developed in the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology to help me learn different genres and moods of music and ambient light that you'll love. How about a bit of classical?
I'd love to. Yes, please.
How about the Jupiter?
Perfect. Thank you.
So I think you recognize this as today's a lot of Amazon Echo, Alexa. They all have this kind of setup. And this was, but when we built this was not. This was the beginning of our journey into empathetic engine. So this was basically designing the what we call virtual agent, or some people call it robot, with personality and empathy. In the usual task-oriented dialogue system, there's the natural language understanding, dialogue state tracking, policy learning, and so on generation, right? So here we basically added another module here. That's what we call empathy module, that will recognize user emotion and correspond with the appropriate response. That's what we call empathy. It's a very crude way of engineering empathy in the dialogue system. And later on, we then built this Nora, it's an empathetic well-being coach, and which we then adopted to something like this. It's a virtual companion for people in quarantine. So back in 2020 in China and Hong Kong, when people travel, they have to go into quarantine for 2 weeks to 21 days in 2021. So we designed this. This is the first time we actually designed a virtual agent that's across multiple days. So people can basically, during quarantine, they can converse with such an agent, and then they can be reminded to do exercise and so on. I'm going to attempt to show you the video a little.
Good afternoon, and welcome to today's session. How is your day going?
It's going great.
Great. Sounds like you are enjoying yourself. Let's start with some temperature and breathing.
Your emotion.
Can you please tell me your temperature?
It's 36 degrees.
Your temperature is normal. Good. I want to check your breathing now. Please take a deep breath in, then start counting out loud on that single breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, as fast as you can.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So 8, 9. I want to fast forward. So what
virtually, and discussed some projects we're gonna do, and yeah, just my life here in quarantine.
How often do you speak to your friends?
When I'm in quarantine, every day.
Okay, I understand. I am sure they miss you. What have you done since yesterday?
So I've worked, I've done some exercises.
So there's a
I-
conversation
I
that
just-
it's detecting your emotion, and then
but today I can see from my window.
so there's also, she's also leading you to do daily
Thank
exercise.
you so much, Anna. This workout will help you burn calories and build lean muscles. And
Since people in
So
quarantine,
suppose
in
I
the-
finish this workout and I'm gonna continue.
How do you feel after your exercise?
Wow, very energized.
Great. Glad to hear that. Daily meditation is beneficial to your mental well-being. Would you like to do some meditation with me?
Yes, sure.
Great.
Hey there.
Please
Thanks
follow
for
the
making
video
it
shown on the right.
So this system was deployed at one of the designated quarantine hotels on Hong Kong Island. For people, they can choose to use the system and do some kind of exercise or learn something. And there's also a chat function to link them to other people in quarantine. Now, I have gone through quarantine 3 times, and I hope I would never have to do this again. But throughout this experience of designing system, we have learned how to basically allow user to have more agency, and this empathy is important. But we also learned that not everything can be scripted. So part of Nora, unlike Emmy, part of Nora is not scripted. Part of Nora goes into an end-to-end neural conversational AI system and allows her to chat with the user in an open domain way. But once we design that, once we go into using an open domain chatbot, then many issues came out. Let me see. So let me share something more about Nora. So then we actually collaborate with Kyoto University, and we put Nora, the companion, the virtual agent, into actually Erica, the real humanoid robot. And we tested users when they're talking to both side by side. They talk to one or the other. One is a virtual agent, and one is actually humanoid. Even by Zoom, users tend to prefer the humanoid by Zoom because they feel that she understands that she's more engaging and so on. So that was an interesting comparison. But so back to the end-to-end open domain chatbot that we use for part of Nora, we actually, back in 2019, we developed such a chatbot based on, at the time called pre-trained language models, and now we call them foundational models. Now we take a foundational model and then we train our chatbot, what we call CareBot, with empathy module. So we fine-tune it with emotion recognition and sentiment analysis as pseudo tasks, and then fine-tune the system to become an empathetic chatbot. And this is what we use as part of Nora. And here you can see a little bit, how it works. So you can actually chat with this chatbot, and now it will give you an emoji, and then it would also detect your emotions. So this is a very open domain chatbot. You can keep chatting. Unfortunately, once we launched this, we found that very quickly it is not safe, because people can say all kinds of inappropriate things and they will respond inappropriately. In particular, there were queries that were kind of politically sensitive or even very sexist or racist. And then so we put this kind of a red button for user to report problem. But then reporting is not enough. So how can we make it safer? How can it make it more responsible? So in responsible AI, safety is a big issue. So how do we make open domain neural chatbots safer? So there are different kind of approaches. This is one approach called Lambda. It uses various kind of metrics to measure its quality and its safety. So they use a database of unsafe responses labeled by a lot of people, and then sort of fine-tune the system with that kind of safe responses. Another way, this is by another paper, it's called Neural Path Hunter. It follows a generate then refine strategy where a generated response is amended using the knowledge graph. So they have a knowledge graph. They have a separate token level fact checking, like a fact checker or fact critic, to identify sources of hallucinations or inappropriate response, and then retrieves the correct entities. So it's a kind of generate and refine strategy. So far, none of this is the perfect way. There's another approach called pro-social dialogue, where the system then is where the conversational AI system then is kind of fine-tuned or adapted to a data set of rules of thumbs. So the dialogue term process would determine which context has safety issues, and then they look for the relevant rules of thumb and then come back with the appropriate feedback. So it's a retrieval process. So it's a classify and retrieval process. This is the approach that we have adopted in our team, which is called AdapterBot. We basically enable controllability with foundational models. So we also have the same backbone dialogue GPT, and then we use one adapter trained for one dialogue type, for example, empathetic response, weather information, and so on. So these adapters have different skills, and we accept all kinds of input, and then we have a discriminator, or we have a automatic task adapter task selector that will choose the appropriate skill and control the response. And this is another approach called Safety Kit. It's an open source tool to measure safety concerns in open domain conversational system. So they ask people to identify the issues, which ones are not safe, and then they basically use that as a training data. We also have found that there's social bias in dialogue systems. So we need to measure racism and sexism and maybe other harm. And so in many systems, people basically use a keyword list and then to use a classifier. In this case, though, we actually have some measure. This was the early work done in our group. We actually, in order to detect whether a chatbot would potentially generate harmful response, we prompt them, or we probe the chatbot with a set of questions and see whether the chatbot responds with sexist or racist answers, so that we can measure social bias in the system. So it's kind of a identification of bias. There's no mitigation in this work. And then there are other kinds of work that uses defense mechanism against adversarial toxicity triggers. And this is another approach, which is two-stage. It uses adversarial attack and defense, kind of two-stage framework. So here, this is yet another approach where it uses database they collect with crowdsourcing, which has safety issues and feedbacks in no, and then people acknowledging the good feedback. So they use this data set to fine tune to avoid potentially safety failure. So they identify there could be safety failure and then come up with the appropriate response. And yet another approach with adversarial approach. So you have you have a chatbot, and then you have a attack bot, which is trying to attack. And then again, you have all this data, 70,000 utterances with unsafe feedback, and then you use a classifier. You use the data to train a classifier, and then you kind of modify the generated feedback by another system. So the architecture is different from the previous the other approaches I mentioned. Okay, BlenderBot 3, this is from Facebook, and they basically it tries to learn the appropriate response while it's having conversation with the user, and try to learn how to be safe, right? There are other safety mechanisms. So I remember in BlenderBot, when people ask a politically sensitive question, it would detect that, and then it would change the topic to avoid such a question. And in my team, our approach is that when we detect a politically sensitive question, we go to Wikipedia type of answers that provides just a very neutral fact about what happened. So if somebody asks whether the election was stolen, we refer to the fact of the election from Wikipedia, what happened that day, okay? So these are the various approaches to ensure that conversational AI systems can be empathetic and can be safe. These work are all very preliminary. They're already in deployment. So the biggest tension today is for conversational AI systems is between the classic modular approach, where you can script your response, and the neural network approach, where the answer can be open domain, it can be very human-like, it can even have a sense of humor, it can be very empathetic, and it can be very diversified. But yet, it is not so controllable, therefore it can be unsafe. So we need to balance the benefit and of the both type of systems. And the current approach and the current direction, we're looking to incorporate task-oriented system into a neural dialogue system approach. So how can we have the best of both worlds? How can we have both human-like empathetic conversational AI systems, and yet they need to be safe? So this is a current research direction, and I hope more of you are interested in working on this. And I am open to questions now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the floor? Yes, please.
Thank you for the wonderful talk. This is Chayan. I'm from Tata Consultancy Service. So when you say adapt, there is a bit of user preference learning maybe. So if you have a system which is for a single person use, as opposed to a system where there are multiple person that can use the same system. So how do you learn the user preference in that scenario, or how much do you need to learn? And if you learn user preference, then there might be privacy concerns. So how do you tackle that?
So the first question, so I didn't actually talk about it here. So how do you personalize the chatbot? Basically, that's the question. So in the Nora Quarantine Companion, it is personalized. So at the beginning of the session, the first day, we actually asked the user, what are their interests, what are their top interests, and then we try to basically in the chatbot, it would gear towards the topics of their interest. If you're interested in sports, it would talk about sports. If you're interested in cooking, it would talk about cooking. So that is one way. But we ask the user to provide that, what's their interest themselves, right? So, but the privacy. So for the Nora system, at the end of the session, we tell the user, you can download a copy of the transcript for your own quarantine diary if you want. but we would delete it from server. So, it's up to them whether they believe us or not. We delete all the conversations with users after they get after they get a copy, we just delete everything. Now, in general, how to personalize a dialogue system or open domain chatbot is a research topic as well, still. So there are different approaches, basically, depending on whether you want to ask user to provide a profile, or another way we actually did it is through conversation, you extract user profile from the conversation. But again, you are right. When you do that, you need to let the user know that's what you're doing, and you will start doing recommendation. It's kind of like a recommendation engine,
Right.
Except that we're recommending topics. The chatbot is recommending topics of conversation. So like all recommendation engines, like all personalized recommendation engines, we need to let the user know that there's such a mechanism, and and let them choose.
Thank you.
Okay, next question, please.
Hello. Hi, my name is Dominic. I first of all would like to say I find this topic incredibly fascinating, and also the work you're doing is very important. But I have a fundamental design, like experimental design question about both your team and the other teams in this space of how do you define human empathy? And how is that being represented in machine empathy? What are the differences? What are the challenges in interpreting that?
So I mentioned earlier that we made an engineering decision. I made an engineering decision a few years ago to define empathy in conversational AI systems or human-machine interactions in a very engineering way. It is defined as the recognition of the user emotion and the appropriate response. So what do I mean by appropriate? So recognition first, right? So again, user emotion, there can be all kinds of user emotion. So you can focus on the primary emotions, or you can focus on the 11 emotion groups, or even more nuanced if you want. So different system design has different, they define the emotion categories differently, and they are overlapping, obviously. So that the recognition part is the first stage. Second stage is how to respond appropriately. There we, so there are different approaches, but the approach we adopt is actually to learn the appropriate response end to end. Okay. So we just learn how humans respond to each other, right? And then we learn that kind of empathetic response end to end. Also, we fine-tune a end-to-end system with additional pseudo-tasks of emotion recognition. So we use emotion recognition database to fine-tune a end-to-end conversational AI transformer system, all right? And that enabled the system to have the ability to recognize emotion and respond with emotion.
I see.
Okay,
Thank you.
It'll be the last questions, please.
Hi, thank you for your great talk. I just have a question regarding your chatbot system. How regularly do the chatbots get updated to like recent trends? Because you said that the chatbots tend to censor out any sexual, racist, or political comments, but something that was not sexual or political yesterday could have been turned into something political today. So do they get updated on daily basis, or how do these
the
chatbots
chatbot
go?
is not live on daily basis. We realize this is a big issue. So as I said, it's when we're not sure about the safety of a chatbot, it's not live on daily basis. Do you mean the one from the Quarantine Companion, or do you mean the one that's open domain chatbot?
The open domain chatbot.
Yeah, that's not live every day. We do take it down and then we update it periodically.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Professor Fung, yeah, your presentation reminds us of movie Her. So yeah, I believe we may see another future very soon. Okay, thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. And then I'd like to also thank you very much for all the audience here for your great participation. Yeah, we are closing. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.